Today's episode of DRL is brought to you by Hella Cocktail Company. My guests don't just come to DRL for me. They also come for the cocktails. Luckily, my friends at Hella Cocktail Company have my back. These guys make amazing mixes, from Bloody Mary to Margarita to Moscow Mule. They also make cocktail bitters, my secret ingredient, and now yours too. It's easy to feel like the best bartender in town when every bottle comes with a simple recipe on it. Hella Cocktail Company, bold flavor, real ingredients, hospitality. Mixing it up since 2011. Shop the collection on Amazon Prime or use code DRL online at hellacocktail.co for free shipping. Hello, my lovely listeners. Welcome back to another episode of DRL, where we're talking everything dating, relationships, and love. I'm your host, Tennesha Wood. I'm like fresh off a wedding, and it's a dope wedding, and it was a 30 plus wedding, and I really enjoyed it. All the 20 weddings that I went to, there's like a whole ordeal of like bridesmaids and is this the right centerpiece and this and that. And I'm like, BS that no one actually cares about anyway.
Or remembers.
Mm-hmm. And this wedding was just, it was straight to the point and straight to the party and straight to the fun. Mm-hmm. So it was like, we're married, let's celebrate that. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing. So I'm here with Elisha today, who was at the wedding as well.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm a bit hungover.
Same.
But I'm great. It's a beautiful Sunday in Oakland.
Yeah, that brings me to the fact that I'm still in the Bay, which I'm loving. Like I really miss being out here. So the funniest thing happened last night at the after party, and I need to share this. So after the wedding, the bride and groom had just like a celebration in their suite at their hotel.
Which is a great idea.
Which is amazing
just
idea.
Plan an after party because you know that no one wants to finish at midnight when the venue closes.
Exactly. Loved it. And everybody's hanging out, drinking, talking, having a good time. Just, normal after party type stuff. And there's this guy sitting in the middle of the room, like sitting on the floor with a newspaper, a New York Times newspaper, and he's reading it. So this is like...
But very seriously.
And paying attention to nothing and no one else. But this is 2 a.m.
If not later.
After a wedding. And it was just...
And he's sitting in the corner like he's out on park bench in New York or something. And like opening the paper like a old... Like, chicka, 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 flip the page. And like, first of all, you don't have an app?
Right.
Second of all, it's 2 o'clock in the morning.
And what do you do that you need to get the news right now?
I know, maybe he's a stock trader. But then it was Saturday, so I don't even know why that matters. Like,
again, alerts on the phone. The bride's aunt said, she goes, I think he is just doing that for attention. I'm like, I think you are right.
Performance art. We all decided it was like a piece he was doing. He was testing us.
Hilarious.
That was so funny.
So how are you? How's life?
Life is great. I'm on a sort of life sabbatical a little bit. I left my job in June and I'm taking 6 months off to travel and be and live and try to be spontaneous with my type A personality. And I can't complain. It's been everything I thought it would be and so much more. I've learned so much about myself. I've learned so much about love and friendship and like what makes you happy, what makes me happy, at least. I can't obviously project to other people. And I recommend it. If you are privileged enough to try to save enough money that you wouldn't have to work, even if it's for a month, do it. And I don't mean just take a month from work, because then you know what you have to go back to. You sort of have this obligation holding over your head the whole time. But if you can just do it free and clear and then figure out what you want to do later, I think it's something we all wait till we're like 70 to do. When we're not able to climb that mountain, we're not able to be gone. We're not comfortable sleeping on hard beds. We're not,
right.
Our bodies don't allow us to have the freedom that we could have now. And if you can do it earlier in life, and I'd take advantage of that.
So was it during this sabbatical that you met your boyfriend? Or
no,
did you guys meet before this?
We met at Burning Man 2 years ago. And I did not like him at first because I was dating someone else. And also he's not my traditional type. Like I hope he doesn't listen to this. So he's kind of square. And he's like... I
love a good square.
Yeah, I love a good square too. But I think, there's a reason they say good guys finish last, because as women, we're really unhealthy with who we choose often.
Yep.
I would choose people who are appealing on the outside, but not always healthy and sane on the inside. So we met a few years ago. I didn't like him. And then past year, Burning Man, last September.
So when you met him, you weren't even thinking of him in a romantic way.
And I was a jerk.
Oh, so you did go out with him.
We went on a date, and then like I tried to ditch him in the middle of the date unsuccessfully.
So don't tell me you did I just got a phone call. I have an emergency. I have to go.
I was like, I have an idea. Let's go to this event my friend's having. My friend Margaret, who you know, was having she was like, had launched her first book. She was having this book signing. And I was like, you know what? Let's go to this book signing. I'm thinking, oh, we'll be in a crowd and I can just kind of like slip out. Like
I'll just pawn you off to this large group of people.
I apologized for the situation. I'm like, dang, that was ruthless. But I walk in and this fool knows everybody at the party. So they're like, newbie is like, what are you guys doing here? Are you guys on a date? And I'm like, oh shit. Like I can't just ditch this person. He knows all these people. So then I'm like, I'm really tired. I'm going to leave. And I like go out. He's like, let me help you get home. Like, I'm like, I'm good. At Uber's coming. And he, to his credit, and he's still to this day why I am with him. He called me out. He said, you obviously don't want to be here on this date anymore. So I'm just going to let you leave.
He said that?
Call me out in these streets.
What did you say when he said that?
I was like, oh, okay. I just got in my car. I felt so stupid. I felt like a horrible person. I felt like I was one of the people that men complain about.
Good for him for calling you out on that, though.
He continues to do that to call me out this day. So to his credit. So then we became friends. We started working in the same co-working space. And then during that time, he moved to Berlin. And then a year ago, last September, we reconnected at Burning Man. And we've been dating.
But just friends at that point when you reconnected?
Just friends. And then we decided we were going to go to Vietnam together, but we were not dating yet. We were just like, oh, that'd be fun. Like we'd be good travel. And I have asked him like, how did you even want to talk to me after I was such an asshole to you? And he's like, I don't know. It's just something about you. Like you just seem like a good person. I just knew that you didn't want to date me. It was all kind of strange, but he lived in Berlin at the time. So we're like, okay, let's go to Vietnam together as friends.
But what was the shift for you from this guy is not my type, I'm not even wanting to be on a date with him, to seeing him in a totally different light than you had before? Like, how did that happen?
I think that when I saw him at Burning Man and I'd been friends with him at this point and gotten to know him and know what a solid, genuine, no bullshit person he was, and thoughtful, he's really thoughtful. I told myself at Burning Man, like, you need to go out with this person. And he actually, so when we were leaving Burning Man, he was giving me this like really intense hug. It was extra. And I'm like, why are you acting like I'm never going to see you again? He was like, well, I don't know. Like, would you answer my call when we got back to default world, is what you call like real life in Burning Man? He's like, will you answer my call? And I was like, yeah, I will. Call me. Like, I'm going to take this serious. And I think just something switched in my head of like, Leisha, stop bullshitting. Like, this is a good person. You'd be a good match. Stop bringing all your baggage and all this unhealthy bias to the situation. Like, give this person a chance because he's all the things you say you want. You know, and I think we often say we want something, but we don't actually choose those people. And I think I just checked myself on that situation. And then we went on an amazing date when we got back, like the best first date I've ever had.
You know why I think that worked? Because he was consistent and but not in a creepy sort of, are you going to go out with me today? Do you want to go out with me today?
Please.
Do you like me now? It was just, I see something greater in you. I see something that maybe this could be. And I'm not just going to let that go because you don't see it yet. But I'm also like not going to be like crowding your space and annoying you. Yeah. Like I'll let you naturally come to that when you're ready for it.
Yeah.
And luckily he had like the foresight and the maturity for that, because a lot of times what happens is a guy might approach us and, you know, we reject them. And then they say, well, you ugly anyway. No, I'm kidding. But no,
I don't like you anyway. Yeah.
But their ego gets hurt, and then they move on pretty quickly, and then you never know what can become of it. So it's just great that
he was consistent, and he was always honest. He never overinflated his feelings. He never underrepresented them. I think I've always, even to this day, I know where we stand, you know, and we've had conversations along the way around where we stand, and we didn't really get serious until this year, right? Until 2019. And because we just weren't there, we weren't ready, and long distance is hard, you know, and it's hard to commit when you're in long distance because you're not sure.
So after you guys went on that epic date, then did you think this is a person I could be with? At that point?
I thought, I like this person. I really enjoy being around this person. I'm kind of a serial monogamous, and I have probably said 4 different times in my life, this is the person I'm going to marry. And I obviously did not marry that person. So I obviously am not married. So I think even now I'm like really hesitant to speak those words because they haven't rung true in the past.
Got it.
And with him, I was really aware of that, of like, I really like you and I think this is something, but I don't know what it is. And I don't want to put false claims into the world. I just want to like you. Can we just like each other? And when he lives in Berlin and I live here, like I can't ask for the impossible. It's like, tomorrow we're gonna be together and this is the person I'm gonna be with. Like, you don't even live in the same city as me or time zone.
Right.
Like I have to take it day by day. I have to choose you every day and be okay with just liking you and growing with you and adjusting. And so, yeah, I think I knew, oh, this person's special, but I don't think I had like made any sort of commitments in my head around what it would be, how we'd turn out.
When he moved to Berlin, what point were you guys at?
We were friends. So we met at Burning Man. He moved to Berlin. We reconnected at Burning Man and started dating. So he's lived in Berlin the entire time we've been dating.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how has that been, starting a relationship with somebody who's literally across the world?
I actually think it's wonderful. I think that so when you're in a relationship, a not long distance relationship, you can lean on physicality as an excuse. You can go to dinner and not say 2 words to each other, right? But you feel like you're spending physical time with each other, which is a powerful love language, right? And so you feel like you're communicating, but you might actually not be communicating. Versus when someone lives in another country, city, even if they live across the bay, right? And it's a 2-hour drive, you have to communicate. If you're gonna be anything, you have to spend time on the phone, FaceTime, texting, whatever it is. And because of that, you get to know them on a level that is beyond physicality, that is beyond lust. It's like an intellectual and emotional level. And I know so many stories about his life. Like we live very separate lives too. So every time we talk, it's like I'm hearing about this journey that I'm part of, but not really, because we don't have the same friends. Like we don't eat the same restaurants. We don't so every day feels like a little adventure and story time in his life. And yeah, I feel really close to him. I feel like he knows me better than any of my exes, especially for the short time we've been dating comparably. Like, yeah, it's been really, really good. It's hard. I mean, it's really hard. I have physical needs. Like that is a love language, but there is something really special about getting to know somebody in an intellectual, emotional way first.
Yeah, I think you're right. We often do just sort of lean on the fact that this person is there. Like how many times are you out at a restaurant and you see a couple and they're sitting across from each other and they're both on their phones and it's like, what's the point?
Yep.
And I'm the type where I'm like, I'd rather you give me 10 minutes of quality, undivided time than spending all day with me, but you're like on the phone or you're distracted or we're not actually connecting or communicating. But you're right. When you're forced to do it over the phone, like you're not just going to sit on the phone and listen to each other breathe. You're actually having like real conversation. I've done that before
we were
too.
Talking about the other
I have
day,
done that
actually. That like, remember when you were in junior high and you would literally just sit on the phone, just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Want to listen to the same song at the same time?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
And start now.
Yeah. Okay, go. Oh my God. You like watch TV together and like, so sometimes we're not that talkative, but the same thing. Like I can spend 20 minutes having a really meaningful conversation with him. And that is like more meaningful in our relationship than probably spending 3 hours at the movies.
Right. Now for you mentioned that like your love language is physical touch.
Yes.
So how do you get past that, or how did you get past that? I mean, you're with somebody literally across the world. Yeah. So like, that's not possible every day.
I think so we're in a really lucky situation, that I'm not working right now. I've taken time off and he freelances. So we're able to travel often. So I would say I see him like every 2 months. And I've realized that that's probably my time limit. Like after 2 months, I'm about to burst. I'm like, come here, somebody caress my arms. Like, somebody touch me. Like, I just need to be hugged. But in the middle, I don't know. You look forward to it. You get excited about it. And then when you are together, it's so meaningful. You know, it means, I don't know, you just sort of like get into a pattern where you, the other things start to make up for this lack of that love language, I think. Quality time was never a love language of mine. I'm a busybody and I'm like, please don't waste. What are we doing right now? Okay?
Don't waste my time.
Just what are we doing right now? We just gonna sit here? Like, but I think being in a long distance relationship has probably shifted that, where I find it really lovely to just like be on the phone with him or, FaceTime with him or, whatever it is. And so maybe it's shifted. Maybe that's why this has worked. I'm not sure.
How do you think this relationship is different from other ones that you've been in? Because it sounded like you might have had some unhealthy patterns before based on the type of guys you were generally attracted to. Like, so how has being in this shifted your perception of the type of person that you are and that you want to be with?
I think that and I don't know what came first. Is it because we're in a long distance relationship, or the long distance relationship works because he's this way? But he is the best partner I've ever had. He listens to me. He tries to adjust when there's something that bothers me, and vice versa. I do that for him. He's really nuanced in his emotional reactions to things, and even the things he says to me. He doesn't generalize. He doesn't say, you always do this or never do this. Like, he's really thoughtful in that way. And I think it's because he's evolved. Like, he's done a lot of work on himself. And not to like damn or condemn my exes. I just think we were younger, and they were generalized. They'd get really mad about things or be really happy. There wasn't sort of this like nuanced humanity in the way they reacted to things. And so that makes him a really good partner, which is why I'm saying I'm not sure if that's why we're able to be in a long distance relationship, because he's so thoughtful and listens and open and vulnerable, or the other way around. But I would say that's the big difference. Another thing is, like, him and I have a sapiosexual relationship. Like, I like him because of how intelligent he is. Whereas I think my past relationships, this is going to sound horrible, but I think I always thought I was the smarter one. I hope my exes don't listen to this. Yeah. I think I always thought that, like,
he teaches you something.
Yeah.
You can learn from him, and not just you always being the person that has to sort of lead in that way.
And feeling like I'm taking care of somebody. And there's something nurturing about, I think most women have some nurturing bone, and there's just inclination to like take care of a man.
Right.
And, there is part of that that's healthy. You need to comfort and be there for your man or your woman, depending on your situation. But there also is this, like, it should be mutual. Like, you should feel like you're being comforted and you're being taken care of. I think in my past relationships, I always assumed that dominant nurturing role, and there didn't feel like a lot of reciprocity in that. Where with him, like, I feel just as taken care of. Maybe I feel more taken care of than I take care of him, because he's really thoughtful and he's really understanding.
There is something about a man that you feel like is teaching you something, and when you're young, it's hard to have those sorts of relationships. But like, when you finally meet somebody where it's just like, wow, I'm literally learning from this person
all the time.
They are literally changing me and the way I see things and the way I see life and myself in a different and better light.
Yeah. I've always complained that my mother was really passive aggressive, just no self-awareness that I was too. And he has definitely made me realize, like, in the beginning of us dating, he started calling me out and being like, do you have something to say? Like, do you know what I mean? You're walking around stomping. You're acting crazy at this dinner table.
I'm fine. It's fine.
Okay, it's fine. Like, no. And he's like, so I have like grown so much in that aspect and other aspects of just having someone honest with me, having someone that feels like my equal, feels like he can call me out, feels like I want to learn and grow, and he wants to help me do that, and vice versa. And yeah, I think when it's a power thing, right? When you're in a relationship where you feel like you're the breadwinner, or you are more accomplished, or you just think you know more than that other person, you're not as open, and they're not as comfortable giving you that kind of feedback. So it's hard for you to grow because you're blocking it off, right? You're like, I'm in charge. I'm the special one. You need to fix yourself.
Have you often dated men where it felt like that, where it was like, I sort of lead the charge in most ways in this relationship?
Yeah. And I don't think necessarily because they were weak. It's because I was doing the most. It's not a sign of their weakness. It's a sign of my like power struggle or something like that. My like need for dominance and type A personalities, which I think especially as Black women, we often don't have we have to be that way.
Right.
We feel in work, in our soul, like we have to take charge. We have to feel like our destiny is in our hands. And that I think can make us hard in relationships, in love. Did
you resist that in any way when he was in the beginning trying to sort of call you out?
Yeah. It's definitely like, you don't know me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know who you're talking to. And then I was like, oh, you just want to look out for the best of me.
you actually want what's best
for me. Be a better
for me.
person. Okay, I'll listen.
I'll try.
Yeah, I'll try.
So he is moving back here?
Yeah, I think so, next year. He loves it there. He loves Berlin. I think he wants to move back, but I like I said, I really like being in a long distance relationship, so I don't feel any pressure to like, speed that timeline up. Like I want him to do it on his terms. So yeah, he's going to come back.
How do you think things will shift once he's back?
Well, my physical love language will probably be more fulfilled. I'm not sure. I actually think that I am a bit nervous about it, because it feels really good, what we have now. And that's, I have so much space in a long distance relationship. I can do all the things I want to do. We don't have to align schedules. You know, we align schedules in the sense of like, when can we talk today?
Right.
But other than that, like, I'm free to come and go as I please. Obviously, when he moves back, we'd the opposite thing. We'd start sharing a life. We'd share friends. We'd share, you know, all those things. And I'll probably have to get over another hurdle, which is full independence.
Right.
The long distance allows me to still maintain all of my independence, but also be in a connected, committed relationship. When he's here, I don't think that that's going to be the case. And so we'll see. I'm kind of nervous about it.
Are you guys planning on living together when he does move back?
I think so. The way he put his cohabitating. I think we should cohabitate. I think so, which is in Oakland so expensive. Like I'm nervous about that part of like, I own my place and I'm like, I don't want to share a space, but also rent's expensive. You know, it's a lot of variables. So we'll see. I guess I said this earlier, like everything is day by day because we're in a long distance relationship. And so I do feel like every day I'm choosing to be with him. And I hope that I continue to feel that way as he moves back. Like, when are you coming? Okay, let's prepare for that. I'm trying not to project and think too far ahead because then I'll start worrying about it and whatever and overanalyzing what might happen. But none of that really matters right now because
do you guys talk a lot about the future, or do you try to keep it sort of in the present moment?
I think we try pretty hard to keep it in the present moment because both of us are in such a transition in our life. Like, I'm not working and taking time off. He's freelancing, living in Berlin. And like, we don't even know what's happening next year, let alone what's going to happen with us. So maybe we found each other in a good place too. You know, like I don't know that in taking time off and traveling so much, could I have been with someone who lives in Oakland full time and here and has to go to work every day on a grind? Like, would we be compatible at this moment in my life? Would he be compatible with someone, you know? So maybe the reason we're working is because we're both in this like flux where every day we're making choices and we're like a little freer. I don't know.
I like it, but I find it hard not to. Like, I'm always thinking in that way. Like, okay, so what's next? What's next? What's next? And I find it hard not to do that, particularly like when I really like somebody and in relationships. Yeah. You know, it's hard for me to find somebody I like in the first place. But when I do, then I'm like, okay, so like, this is what I'm thinking. Right.
Yeah. I think I do that. I do think I dream in my head, like, especially being at the wedding last night. I was like, our wedding is so dope. He's a really good dancer. I'm like, ooh, we should do a coordinated dance. And like, but then I'm like, great. You're not actually going to plan those things right now. You're not actually going to, but yeah, I have like fairy tale dreams in my brain.
Do you think that taking the time off that you have has contributed to you being able to like live in the moment more and take things day by day?
Yes. 100%. Yes. Because I can choose what I do every day in my general life, I can also have the space to like choose how I feel about him every day. And what I just have more freedom to like think, you know? And so I don't, even when I'm like, ooh, and then we do this and this, I'm like, is that realistic? Like, why are you thinking about that? Is that important? I think I'm hungry. Like, you know what I mean? Like my brain can be like in flux a little bit more. But yeah, we talk about it. Like, we talk about the holidays and what we'll do next year. And, you know, so we do talk about it, but it doesn't feel a lot I don't feel pressure. I will say like the kids thing is really interesting because I just turned 36 and I have quite a few friends who have newborns or pregnant or are adopting or really concerned that they like will not be able to have kids because they're single and whatever. So I think about that sometimes, that like we haven't been together. We've been dating for a year. It's not like soon enough to talk about those things, but I'm 36. Like, should I be having that conversation with him?
Do you for sure want kids?
Yeah, I for sure want kids. I'm open to all different ways of having that. So yeah, that's a weird thing because I think about it, but am I comfortable talking to him about it yet? I'm not really sure. We don't even live in the same city. So, you know what I mean? I'm like, let's talk about babies.
How old is he?
He's my age. Yeah.
Okay. It's funny, like over the last, like just throughout the summer, I've gotten to like travel around and like reconnect with some old friends. And so I'm at this point where I'm seeing so many different parts of life being lived at this moment. I'm 35. And so I have friends that got married 10 years ago and are now going through a divorce. Yep. I have friends that are like, I just met a guy that I really like. I have friends that are engaged. I have friends that just got married. I have friends that have two kids. You know, so I'm just at that. We're at that unique age right now where it's like
you could be anything.
You could be anything, literally. Yeah. And so I've been talking to Chris about this, but like I'm really looking at, like, very carefully looking at all pieces. I'm like, which pieces of this do I want? You know?
Yeah.
Because right now I'm like staying with my friend who, she has a 2-year-old, and, you know, they've been married for a couple years. And I'm like, there are some parts of this that I really want. And then I'm like, there are some parts of this that I don't, you know? And so like literally, I feel like I'm having this weird 35-year-old crisis right now where I'm really trying to be intentional about like the way the rest of my life happens. Because I think in my head, just like growing up, it's like, well, I want to get married and I want to have kids. But like, did I want that or not? Was that
just the thing I was?
Was that just the thing I was supposed to want? Was that thought put there by somebody? And so now I'm like really trying to dissect it. Like, which parts of this appeal to you?
And like, why?
Exactly.
Why do you want to get married? Why do you want to have kids?
Right.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I've heard a lot about taking time off is you're so lucky. And at first I just like, oh, whatever, that's a comment. And then it started to get to me because I was like, there's no luck involved in this. Like I planned for this. Like I decided I was going to save enough money to not work for 6 months. And I also made choices in my life, like not having children and not getting married early, that allowed me the freedom in order to do that. Right. So if I had kids, like I couldn't just not work for 6 months, be out, you know, be out traveling on boats and sleeping in hostels. Like I have kids.
Right.
But people, I think it's like the grass is greener mentality, right? You see someone with kids are like, they're so lucky. Like, that's a choice they made. You made a different choice. You could have adopted. You could have, there's all kinds of other, and sometimes our choices feel really hard. They're rocks in hard places, but there's still a choice. And I think there's some accountability to those choices that you make. Like, sure, you might not have kids now, but you also have all these other things, good and bad, right? You might have kids and you might not be able to free to travel, but you have these beautiful children that you've brought into the world and you've chosen to make a part of your life. And I think that this relationship is a choice that I'm making, just like not working right now, just like not having kids right this second. And I'm trying to like think, to just be more accountable and take more ownership of all these choices that I'm making, because that's how you find happiness in your life. Right. You're like, cool, this isn't perfect, but I chose this. And so I'm going to find all the positives in it. And I'm not going to be looking across the fence of like, oh, but they have this and they have this. Because that's just, they just made different choices than I did.
Right.
You know, and they don't have a lot of things that I have.
And when you're truly happy with your choice, you don't feel the need to look on the other side of the fence and compare.
You don't.
So I'm glad to be at this stage in life where I'm just sort of like seeing it all. And
yeah, because you're right. Because all our friends are like, I have friends who are like starting over in their careers. I have some friends who are millionaires because they had startups and they sold them and like they're basically retired. There's like such a huge, you know, and they were just different. They just took different life paths. They made different choices, and that's fine. They're both happy, but in very different ways.
Are you going back to your same job after you take the sabbatical?
There is no job to go back to. I quit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like quit. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I
love it.
Yeah.
I love that.
I
did the same thing 2 years ago. I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just don't want to do this.
Yeah. I really love what I do. I'm a marketing strategist, and I really, really enjoy that. So I will do that in some capacity. Where I'll do that, who I'll do that for, I have no idea. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm quitting. Don't save my seat. Like, I probably won't be back.
Where all have you traveled to in the time that you've been off?
Oh, Mexico, Guatemala, Greece, Italy, Berlin, Finland, Estonia, Indonesia, Israel. I'm going to Ghana in a few months.
Nice.
Alabama. I'm going to Alabama for a week. That's really random, but I've never been to Alabama. And I'm just really interested to like go learn about all the sad things. It's really sad. I don't actually know where I'm going. It's like
I just
very
want
sad
to see
history.
what segregation was kind of like.
I mean, when you grow up in California, right? It's like, you know, but you don't feel it as visceral.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm going to drive around Alabama for a week. I mean, that's what you do when you don't have a job. You can just like go rent a car and drive around Alabama.
What would you say during this time is like the biggest thing that you've learned about yourself?
I was just talking to my friend about it. One of them is, I think I was trapping myself in schedules. Like I was so productive, which is great, and efficient, and busybody, and I feel very accomplished, but my life was so scheduled and so structured. I didn't have space to love. I didn't have space to like make frivolous choices, or you know what I mean? Even the fun
you didn't put it on your
scheduled.
calendar.
You know what I mean? I'm like, now it's time for fun. 9:30. Like it's like
9:30 to midnight.
it's
fun.
Sleep, get up, work out. You know what I mean? Then for 10 minutes you can have some more fun. It's like I was trapping and I thought it was my way of achieving my goals, which very much I achieved a lot of goals, but I also think I wasn't making space for happiness. I wasn't making space for joy. I wasn't making space for love. And I hope that even when I do start working again, that I still make space for that. My relationship's a good example. Like I was saying, I don't know that I could be in this kind of relationship with that's like crazy structure that I had before. And it's like, I was obsessed with productivity. And I have come to learn productivity is really relative, right? Like, is it productive to sit around and have tea with your friend? No, maybe. I don't know, right? Like if it means something to you and it brings you joy, then it's very productive. It's just as productive as going to work or building a business or,
Do you think you can actually go back to that sort of structure now having had this life?
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know. I think I'll have a totally different perspective on it. One of my fears is that I slip right back into it and leave all the lessons and like self-reflection behind. Like I just get back into the grind and then I turn around 2 months in, I'm like, oh, it's like I was never off. Like I really hope that I bring some of the energy and the thoughts and perspectives I've had with me throughout the journey. But I don't know. I think it's harder. I think the whole world wants you to be productive. Especially as Black women. They're like, Black girl magic, you could do anything. Take over the world. Don't you want to run for president? It's like, no, what? I just want to sit. Like, you know what I mean? So how do I maintain this like sense of balance and freedom when I am more structured?
I think once we get out of the mental box of this is what these achievements mean, right? So if I get this promotion at work, it means this about me, right? Like we sort of have all these unwritten things that society tells us that if you achieve this, this means you are this, you are therefore in the upper echelon with these people, with, you know. But I think once we really sit down and say to ourselves, like, what are the things that actually make me happy on a daily basis? And am I doing those things? Well, then yes, I am successful if I am doing those things that are making me happy. But the world might not see it. Like the world doesn't see your happiness on, you know, some award on the shelf. You don't get like a happy award every day. And so we don't put as much value, you know what I mean? Like, look at all my happy awards on my shelf.
I graduated from happiness.
Right. Yeah. And so it's just not valued and we don't get awards for it. But you get to a point one day where you're just like, I just got to be happy. And it doesn't, I don't care what it looks like. And I don't care.
Yeah. That's why I encourage people, even if you can just take a month away, right? To do it, because when you don't have anything to do, you do the things you really want to do. You realize that like, oh, I actually didn't like going to that gym. I was just going because it was down the street.
And it was
like,
on my calendar.
I really don't like Caesar salad. I don't know why I was eating it every day. Like it was convenient. That's why I actually really like this thing. You know, you can make all the choices that you want to make and you start quickly bubbles to the top, the things that actually make you happy, the things that actually bring you joy. Things you're actually passionate about and love. Yeah, because you created space to make intentional choices.
I love this space that you're in. I think it's like amazing things are going to come out of this time because you're just like essentially like digging everything up and starting over and rebuilding with the understanding that it's more about your happiness and growth and not about anything else.
Yeah. And it's amazing to have a partner who wants to go on that journey with me and is really supportive of it and not judgy and not like you need to get a job. why are you so broke? Yeah, he's great. And like I said, I think being distance has probably helped because we communicate so much. Sometimes when we can't, like today, we couldn't find a time to talk. So we started leaving each other WhatsApp voice memos. Yeah. And they're like 10 to 11 minutes long. I feel like it's my own personal podcast. Like I listen to him talk and he's like, yeah, so today I was like, but it's like an ongoing story because he's having like rental landlord situation there. And he's like, yeah. And then blah, blah. So the update on this is like, and and then I'm like, oh, and I reply. And it's like really soothing to hear each other's voices. I feel like it's like really my version of this or NPR or something, right? Where I'm just like, oh, what's going on in the podcast today? And he like tells me, yeah, it's really fun.
So is he's sort of at the same place in terms of, did he take a break from work? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he works, but he freelances. So he doesn't have to go to an office every day. He can work from a lot of places. You know, he can work remote. which means that I'm like, I want to travel to, like we just went to Israel. Like I want to travel to Israel for my birthday. He can come. Like he doesn't have to take time off and stuff like that.
Have you learned anything new about him from traveling with him? I always say like the best way to get to know people is to travel with them.
Oh, where do I start? He's very particular about Airbnbs. He has like a whole criteria list on how to choose. So I don't even choose them anymore.
What's
like,
on the criteria list?
Well, like, and it's really good, but it can like, it's particular. Like he's really obsessed with lighting. And a lot of times in Airbnbs, you look at the picture and you can't tell where the windows are.
Right.
And then you get in and it's like dank.
Right.
So he's really particular about like looking at all the pictures, trying to imagine the whole space so you can see if light comes in or not. He has a really hard time sleeping. So like, the kind of bed, he'll like examine it and like look at all the reviews. Like, you know what I mean? He's just really particular about it. And he lives quite a minimalist life. So he doesn't travel with a lot of stuff, which I'm trying really hard not to travel with a lot of stuff. But I mean, he carries a backpack that's like twice as big as maybe it's like your daily backpack that you carry your laptop in. That's like all the clothes he owns, basically.
Wow.
Yeah, where I'm out here with this
Goals.
like... Girl, I'm out here with like 5 pairs of shoes. He has like a pair of running shoes and like sandals, and that's it. And I'm like, okay, well, I bought 1 pair of heels, water shoes.
Because we might do this, we might do that, and you never know.
I might go on a hike, okay? And like, you know, and I got 4 swimsuits, and I got, I've learned he's really committed to this minimalist life. Like, I'm like, why don't you just buy this hat? And he's like, I already have a hat. A hat? You have a hat, so can you buy another hat? Like,
I'm getting there. The more I move, the more I'm just like, I'm sick of buying and getting rid of stuff. Like, what are the things I actually need? Like this last move, I was just like, this is too much. I just don't want stuff anymore. I'll just throw it all away.
Yeah. I'm trying because I've been living off the same kind of clothes for 4 months. So I'm like, I don't really need all those other clothes. But I did go back to my house today and was like, oh, but this stuff's cute. Maybe I do need all this.
I could have wore this.
Yeah. So I've learned that about him. He's a very like value-based person. And I think it's part of being a minimalist. Like he's not frivolous with his money by any means, but I also wouldn't call him cheap. It's like, Is that worth it? Like, that meal's expensive, but why? Like, is that actually where I'm like, no, I've never tried it before. Let's pay all the money for it. Like,
I'm the same way.
Like, there's something I like novelty. Like, I'll do something just because I've never done it before, or eat something, spend tons of money on something just because I've never had it.
Are you an Aquarius?
I'm a Virgo.
Oh, okay.
And he is a Pisces. And so he's like far more value oriented, which is good. It's been good for me because I'm on a budget while I'm off, and he like helps me stick to that. That's really good. I mean, it's funny, even when I'm with him, it's very similar to when I'm not with him because I talk to him so much. And so there is like a physical thing that I get with him that I don't obviously get on the phone, but it doesn't feel like, and then there was this moment where we're together. It's like an extension of just another day in our relationship.
What's your favorite thing about him?
Ooh. God, I like so many things about him. What is my favorite thing about him? He is an incredible listener. Like, if I say, I don't like when you do this, he immediately tries to try to first understand what I mean by that. Because sometimes I'll just be like, I don't like when you do. And he's like, what do you mean by that? Like,
I love that.
Like, where's the root of that thing?
I love that. Because it's always something behind the thing. It's never just the thing.
Yeah. It's like, I don't like those shoes. Well, that's just rude. I don't know why I'd say that. But like, I was like, I don't like whatever. I don't like when you treat me this way. I don't like, for example, I don't know that physical touch is one of his love languages. And so in the beginning of our relationship, he used to tap me like, you can't see me on
Hey girl.
But he would like tap me on the shoulder. Mm-hmm. And I actually found it really condescending. I was like, am I a child? Like, what is this? But it was like part of his affection to me. And I'm like, this is not going to work. I'm not a dog or a child. But he'd be like, hi, babe. And like tap me on the head sometimes. I'd be like.
Not the head tap.
You know what I mean? Like, am I a 2-year-old or a pet cat? Or I'm like, it was weird. And I told him, and he's worked really hard on it. Like he started holding my hand more. When he finds himself going to tap, then he like rubs. Like one tap. Oh,
let me switch it up. Yeah. That was a rub, not a tap.
But just the fact that he's like listens and he tries to adjust, and we also spent 30 minutes talking about why it bothered me, like why I didn't like to be tapped and what I was missing from not just being touched, you know? Yeah, and so I think that's my favorite thing about him is I don't feel like there's anything I can't talk to him about. There's nothing that I can't bring up and address. And I get, how will you feel if I say this? But I know that he'll just like try to work to be better about whatever that thing is.
This is such a mature relationship. I love it.
He's so mature. He's more mature than I am. That's for sure. He's so much more mature. I can be very childlike. That's why he's tapping me probably. It's like, if you little whiny ass.
What would he say his favorite thing is about you?
Oh, I wish he would say I was funny, but I actually don't think he would say that.
Don't project.
I know, I don't project. I actually don't know. That's a good question.
Should we call him and ask him?
Well, it's really.
Oh, okay. Hey, I just woke you up. What's your favorite
Tennesha
thing?
and I are on the phone or on the thing. I don't know. It's a really good question. I'll have to ask him. I think that he probably likes how driven I am. Like when I do set my mind to something, it definitely happens for better or worse. I think he probably appreciates that. I'm a decent cook, I think, but I'm not with him a lot. So,
I just send him a lot of pictures.
Yeah, I'm like, look what I made. When I'm with him, I cook. I definitely cook when I'm with him. Yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question. I'm really honest, blatantly honest. So he appreciates that because he is also that way.
That's dope. Yeah, I really like the way this is going. It's very mature. It's like growth. It's everything.
Yeah, it's like the wedding yesterday. We're post 30.
Yes,
right?
yes. So what is next for you guys? When do you guys see each other next?
He'll be here the end of this month. He's coming for some work stuff. So we're gonna spend some time together. A funny story is like one of my best friends is dating his best friend now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So they're new. They've been dating like a month. So we're probably gonna do some like double dating things, which
I like it.
He has like a very interesting relationship with his best friend. It's beautiful. I think we don't see that enough, right? Where men are comfortable being vulnerable and open about how much they care about each other.
Oh my God. I don't think I've ever seen that from
It's really
two men.
gorgeous. When we were talking about our best friends being in a relationship, he's like, I'm not really know if I'm ready for him to be in a relationship. Like, because
I still need my time.
I need my time. Yeah. And then I was telling his best friend, how my boyfriend, he says one of his languages, YouTube videos, love languages. Mm-hmm. He sends me YouTube videos as like his love language. And I was telling his best friend that he's like, I used to get those videos. We have like a very intimate, beautiful friendship. So it'll be fun to like hang out as two couples and like see how that goes.
I love it.
With some bitterness in his voice. I'm like, you can still get the videos because I cannot.
It's fine. I can't watch all these videos anyway.
Like I just can't. Like,
Chris is like he'll just spam me with links. I'm like, did you get my link? Did you read that link? And I'm like, you sent me 10 links.
Yeah,
I didn't have time to read all 10 links before today's lesson. I'm sorry. What is it?
Just give me the bite size. The seconds I need to be watching because I can't watch this entire lecture about whatever robotics or whatever it is. Like,
or I'll watch like the first couple seconds and then I'll write back like, cool. And he's like, you wrote back too soon.
Yeah,
the video was 3 minutes. You wrote me back in like 30 seconds.
Yeah. So you didn't. I know. And I'm not a big like culture whore. I don't like obsess over like what's happening in Black media and like I'm not really on Twitter.
You're not like reading the Wall Street Journal
just
at the party at a party
Absolutely
trying
not.
to.
I get an alert. I'm like, oh, Trump fucked up again. Cool. Yeah, and so he's better about that. So he'll like send me all these things, and I'm like, cool. Yeah, you're right. Like, cool. The headline was good.
Right. Great headline.
Yeah, but being off, I've started to listen to a lot of podcasts. And so we start sharing podcasts lately. And that's been fun because he listens to like 10-minute podcasts, and so those are digestible.
Nice.
I can make that
well,
happen.
can you have him listen to DRL?
I think he probably already does, actually.
Oh, good.
I think he probably already does.
Well, thank you for coming on today, Elisha.
Thank you for having me.
I am really glad that you have this like new man that really fulfills you in a lot of ways. Like I could tell you glow when you talk about him. Aww. So that's a very good sign.
Don't be afraid of long distance relationships. They can work and they can work really well.
With the right person.
Mm-hmm. With the right level of commitment between the two of you.
Yep.
And honesty. So much honesty.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, where can people reach out to you?
I guess on Instagram. Is that the best channel? Yeah. My Instagram handle is Leesha G, LeeShag.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And please reach out to me at Tennesha Wood on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter and let me know what you think of today's show. And until next time, wish me love. Hello again, my lovely listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of DRL. If you like the show, be sure to go on iTunes and leave a rating and also write a review. And don't forget to share with your friends and tell them all about DRL. Thank you so much for supporting.